campaign is open to everybody. So we would love to be able to provide you a basic education on finance.
Ya Vakailavo binaka sana kandua, sana tiko binakatalangana kenaisaw.
If you are thinking debt, you will attract debt.
Na rao walangan tos na chana kemisaw, me bakana ibakatangan danyande ni nomutumbu.
Prangoda na imbalan-balan ni Vaka sa manggo kina bunga tala na nonda Vakaraubuka Vakaraubuka. En ono na kaloka na via kami ni Vakaraubuka vi kemado ya Amerika. Doon na kaloka na singile ni maroroi vi kemado may viti. Vakailavo en Vakaraubuka. Prangoda kina nanunray veigaunisala na Canada en Vakailavo. Radio Bulando Vata San Francisco. Mekauti Kanda Vatamai.
Ia ni bula vinaka me wakau wakarita katikania, me wakau ni rongo da talitunga maya, ono na kaloko, Vakailavo and Vakaraubuka o thea data. Ia ni kua me wakanga na nonda bulangi tiko ndo ngali tiko mo koe na vea kavi ni Vakaraubuka. I would like to welcome Brad once again to our Friday, Finance Friday. Bula vinaka, Brad.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
Next Friday.
Thank you for having me back.
Next Friday it's Mbula, right? It's
Yeah.
it's how we say hello in Fijian.
Okay.
So how was your week, Brad?
My week was good. We had done some financial literacy events, and we're actually getting out and starting to talk to more people in the music industry, musicians and stuff like that. And financial literacy is for everybody. There's no one that doesn't deserve it.
We all need
and
it.
It should be available for everyone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Thank you, Brad. I know that we've talked about savings in the past. I'm just gonna rattle off in Fijian for a few seconds here. Because ni nando sema tiko mai kio ni balata na ni rondo Veitalanoa tiko mai kio Brad wakatalanga kina vitu pe. Ningai siko mai ni na radio bulando vata Facebook, YouTube channel e tiko kina na Veitalanoa. E na ve madhawa sa o tika kito mi Veitalanoa tiko kina e na buku ni nonda maroroi lavo. E ndo tiko na kandrengo na nonda maroroi lavo. I was just saying, Brad, that for us it's really, really, really difficult to save. First of all, most of us don't even know how to save. And secondly, we just have so much obligations that it's just difficult to save. And so going back to our earlier conversation, I know that we had tried to figure out what to talk about in our program today. And you had suggested we talk about the benefits of financial education and making good decisions. I guess it just goes back to that famous saying, knowledge is power. So if we don't know how to, there's no way we can be able to save or be financially secure for our future, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think knowledge is power, but I also think that, I was thinking about, like my parents and their level of education. And I'm actually fourth generation in the U.S. And so my great-grandparents moved here. They came here relatively uneducated. My grandparents, they went through high school and they got jobs with the Postal Service and they started to build up.
Mm-hmm.
The next generation was my parents who were college graduates,
Mm-hmm.
And then there was me, who's, also a college graduate. And so what we see is what we want, I think, in the long term is we want every generation after us to be better off.
So true.
Right. And so we see that with education. We see that with standard of living. We see that with a lot of things. And so when we think about financial education, I think that's something we need to think about too, is how are we leaving our next generation? Are we leaving them to start again at ground zero?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we being able to create something that's going to make their life a little bit easier into the future? And so, when we talk about financial education, it's not just about like understanding how numbers work and things like that, but it's really, when you start out thinking about what you want for your life and what you want for the next generation. And if you do it right, then it can perpetuate from generation to generation.
So true. Thank you, Brad, for sharing that, because most of us are first generation Fijians here in the U.S. There are a few of us who are like now second generation. And of course, as first generations, we are here with our children and then grandchildren. So that's a very good point that you have brought out. The other thing I was thinking about, just going back to our earlier conversation, is, school, education. We go to school. Some of us make it to college, some don't, for various reasons. And can you kind of talk a little bit about how you went to school, but then you graduated as an engineer, right? What I'm trying to say is they don't really teach us how to be better financially, how to kind of survive in the world financially.
No, they don't. Regardless of where you go, I actually have an undergraduate and a master's in engineering, and my undergraduate is from Santa Clara, my master's is from Stanford, and never once along that educational pathway did they ever talk about anything regarding our personal finance. And so the hard part is that if we don't understand our money, we have really no direction. We just have a job that we're working at and hoping things we can make ends meet. The good news is that you don't need to be in a master's or a PhD program to educate yourself financially and put yourself better off than maybe a lot of people that are more well educated in various forms of knowledge but don't have the basics on how money works. So
true. And so with your program, with the literacy, financial literacy campaign, what are you guys doing that can help with that?
We have our entire workshop set, I think, is really great. And our first workshop, we actually talk about, before we get into all of the money basics and things like that, we talk about having goals. And goals can be short-term, mid-term, and long-term. So short-term can be paying off some debt. Mid-term, you could say, maybe I want, my kids are growing up, I want to put them into college. And then long-term could be that you want to retire. And once you have those goals that are set, now you can actually start to work towards them. Versus somebody who maybe you have a great job and have good income, but you don't have goals. And so maybe they're not aware of how much they need to save. They don't think about these kind of things. And so the person that has goals and starts to act towards them is the person that usually ends up more successful, right? It's not about how much you make. It's about what your goals are and how much you're keeping to get to your goals.
That's a great point. So I'm going to be very vulnerable here and just share a little bit about myself, just because I know that a lot of our listeners would probably be able to relate to my situation. Here, most of us are doing caregiving. And in caregiving, we make a lot of money. We really do make a lot of money. But then it's like living paycheck to paycheck. That's that's our situation. We make a lot of money, but then we're living paycheck to paycheck. So how would you, advise someone like that, someone like the situation that I just explained, because most of us are like that?
Okay, that's a great question. And it's actually, the answer is very simple. The answer is actually probably simpler than you think it is. And it comes down to our financial habits. So, like, for example, maybe if somebody says, hey, I want to lose weight, or I want to stop smoking, or there's something that they would like to do. The hardest part is starting, right? The hardest part is just making that commitment and starting. And after a while, you say, oh my God, I want to lose some weight, so I got to go to the gym. But then after a while, once you go to the gym for like a couple days or like a week, you start to realize you feel good, and you start to change your habits, and you start to change. What changes with your habits is also your attitude, right? So instead of like, oh God, I got to go to the gym again, you're like, oh no, I'm looking forward to this, because when I come out, I feel really good. I feel healthy. I can see that I'm losing weight. It's the same thing with money. You start to create these habits, and your attitude will change. It starts a little bit difficult, but the struggle is not forever. The struggle is just overcoming yourself and your habits to build different habits. And once you build habits that are good for you, you actually feel a lot better as well. When you're saving money towards a goal, you feel really good. Like, I want to save more money, versus before it's like, I want to spend everything I have. And so a lot of it is just building up those habits and starting, and your attitude will change along the way. It will be more positive. You will see the transformation in yourself, and it makes it a lot easier to move forward and hit your goals.
Thank you. So let's just talk about the benefits of financial education. And when I'm talking about financial education, I'm referring to anything and everything out there, vehicles, all the financial vehicles that are out there, and the benefits of being educated about these financial vehicles. And one of these financial vehicles is life insurance. I'm bringing this up because I was dealing with a client this week who started off with this particular life insurance policy. Not the one that my community know me for selling it, the Lincoln Heritage. It's not that one. This is a separate life insurance policy type. And then at first, she started off thinking that at the end, that's what her children are going to get. But we just found out this week that it's not the case. And she's been paying into the policy for like 13 years. How would that help someone? Like, if you were educated with that policy, or what would be the right questions to ask if someone was getting into a life insurance policy? I'm talking life insurance, Brad, because I know that is one of the financial vehicles that help people with retirement planning and long-term care and whatnot, but what would be the right questions to ask? If, let's say, I'm someone who's sitting in front of you wanting to buy a life insurance policy with all of this in mind, what would be the right questions to ask?
So the first thing that usually happens is you want to be able to identify how much you're worth, right? And so somebody who is will sit down and educate you, or somebody that is just calculating the proper amount of insurance should be able to help you do that. And so what we normally do is we have what we call the DIME method, D-I-M-E, your debts, income replacement, mortgage, and education, D-I-M-E. And that'll tell you how much you're worth. Now you have to figure out from there, you want to figure out, okay, so how long do I need this policy to last? Do I want it to last just for 10 or 20 years because those types of policies will be less expensive? Or do I want something that is going to last me my entire life? Those are going to be more expensive, but then like you said, the death benefits and things are more predictable. And then from there, not just understanding, life insurance if I die, but there are other factors and there are other types of programs that are like life insurance type programs that will have additional benefits. So what happens if I get disabled? Is that a concern of mine? Do I have a high risk job? What if I can't pay for the premium? Is there, there are options to cover the premium? Am I looking for something more along the lines of, like, some life insurance programs have health care benefits now, long-term care, critical illness, chronic illness. And I would like to know, what are the additional benefits that are available to me? And if you don't know what would benefit you, ask the agent. Just say, hey, what do you think would work best for me based upon my situation? And they should be collecting your information and know you well enough to say, well, you have this, if you don't have this, so you should get this additional type of add-on, or you don't need it, right? And that's all part of the process with you and the relationship you have with the agent, that they should know you enough to make proper recommendations or be asking questions to help them understand your situation, so it's a win-win.
Again, it's going back to our initial conversation about educating. If you're educated, you would know what's best for you, what may or may not be good for you. Nimbul binaka na sama tiko mai na kawini kuau ni takani sama tata tiko na nero Veitalanoa. And it really, Brad, it's not just life insurance, really, right? Even when we go to the bank to open a bank account, there's all kinds of savings account, all kinds of checking account. And so they sit in front of you, and this is for the benefits of our, people in our community. There are lots of Fijians coming in through the green card lottery, just coming in, visitors visa, but more and more Fijians are coming now and are able to open bank accounts. So we're sitting in front of a banker, and they are giving us all these options. So it's the same thing, right? Same concept. If we don't know what we're getting ourselves into, what we're signing up for, the next thing we know, there's just tons and tons of fees being deducted from our checking account, because that's just how the checking account goes. But we didn't know, because we didn't know what questions to ask. Also, we didn't know what exactly are we looking for or are we in need of, right?
Yeah, and so in those cases, I mean, I think just the basic important questions to ask is, are there any fees, right?
Bottom line,
also,
right?
Yeah, are there any fees that I may be subjected to in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times they say, hey, if you're going to put X amount of money into this program, then there's no fee. But then once your money gets below a certain point, then you start to accumulate fees that maybe you didn't understand or know about, or it wasn't explained clearly in the beginning. So it's always important to identify, am I subjected to any fees now?
Mm-hmm.
But in the future, is there anything else that will subject me to additional fees? Or is there, if my account goes down, am I going to be subjected to fees, or is it still, is there still no fee associated with the account? And, these are simple questions that you need to ask. And I always tell people that there are no stupid questions in finance, except the one that you don't ask that costs you money later on. So always feel free to ask any questions. And if the person if they're doing a good service to you, they will answer the questions as honestly as they can.
And not make you feel stupid for asking the question, right?
Yep, absolutely. No stupid questions.
Thank you, Brad. Vikim ni nasa matiko mai ke Vakaitiko na nomuni Vakatataro, Brad Hamada, ke romai Veitalanoa tiko yani. Ke romai Veitalanoa tiko yani, and e kawi binaka ni kua, vikim do, bula binaka Lucy, bula binaka mai tau, bula binaka Maraya. Hi, Brad. Welcome back. I think we got cut off there a little bit. I think we're back on air right now. Okay, I think we're back on air. Ikem do na sama tiko mana kabini kua, ke karonin do bakarita kamai do serongo di kiro tiko se senga. Bola benaka Chana, dombula mai Sacramento. Wakatang kina ve Lodi, bola benaka. Rambeka nindo bola mai to se sama tiko se se. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, Brad, if we're still on air, but if we are, in case we are, here's Brad Hamada. Ando tiko na, ando do embuta vinaka sartunga na veka Vakailavo. Vinaka Vakailavo and Rose, thank you for clarifying that. Buta sartunga na veka Vakailavo, ko ya usuritikim do tikina ke Vakaituna ka ando via kila, tumbeka na nom do Vakatataro ni volamai, raunin so maya ni Brad Weekenda na kavini kua. Wikim do na the lata talingana ni Veitalanoa. Tiko na radio Bulando Vata YouTube channel. Ningero ni sikoba na ni mataka na Veitalanoa. Brad, is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners before we say goodbye today?
I appreciate any inquiries that you guys have received into our campaign, and I want to just encourage people to keep reaching out, keep looking for sources, reach out to Una or the radio station and inquire about the literacy, and come join us at our workshop, and we look forward to meeting many of you and helping you guys build your financial future.
Thank you, Brad. I would like to also emphasize the workshop is free. Sangin Indona Kai Somi. na workshop talangai so eraniko dakavanga na there are some workshops on Zoom, right? For because most of our people are stuck at work with caregiving, with clients, elderly clients. So if there was anything that they would like to know or workshops that they would like to be involved in, ideally Zoom would be the best medium for them, or telephone. Koia wia wakandi takani vikim do ke wakando na wia vitartar mai ke Brad rani do ge vitartaranga mai ke au e levu sarto na ka e tu rani onina bulida ka rani na buki kanta Vakailavo and anonda sanga tiko menta tarada ke anonda bula Vakailavo. It's I cannot emphasize enough the importance of financial literacy. I am one who struggles with it a lot, Brad. That's just really honestly speaking. Yes, there's money that's coming in, but it's the discipline that I lack just because, I'm always like, oh, this one here needs money, this one here needs help. And that's just a cultural thing. I think it's ingrained in us that we just kind of dole out money, not just because, but it's like we cannot be having money and then watching our families and friends struggling. And so I think it's also a change of mentality for us. So thank you, Brad. If there's nothing else that you would like to share with our listeners today, I would like to just encourage everyone. Vi komunikade nando sema tiko mai na vi singa. Pakambimbi nando rongo the tiko na ni Veitalanoa ke Brad round. You ninge vi tartar mai ke vakau na vi kilana vi kai so member letter na nonda rauni na tarada ke na nonda bula Vakailavo. Pakambimbi tiko ngon in the same tiko na bono libongo America. What can you do to build up your financial future, financial security na Dona kango na retirement and dona ngona dana sanki ni daka Brad. I'm just going off, just trying to kind of get the point across that one day we will not be able to work anymore, So it's really important to be able to educate ourselves and put that education into action by building our financial future. Thank you very much, Brad Hamada. Until the next time. If there's nothing else that you'd like to share.
Nope. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a safe Memorial Day, and and start the process. Right, start saving, and you'll find your life is much easier.